Hello all, it's Thursday, December 10th, and this is officially our last day of class. I can only imagine how much you'll miss these videos. In this last class video, I want to do two things. First, I want to talk about how you can represent your design work in your professional materials. These document design skills may well set you apart in a job market. Where others craft prose and work with words, you craft documents and create experiences and work with both words and visuals. Second, I'm going to offer a few end of class reminders. Let's talk a bit about how you can represent and present your design work in your professional materials. I'm going to talk specifically and share examples from resumes and portfolios, but all of this advice feeds into LinkedIn and other spaces where you anchor and illustrate your professional identity. First, most importantly perhaps, on your resume. The textual content of your resume should include active, design-focused verbs to describe the work you've done. Designed, created, produced, published, laid out, wireframed, illustrated, storyboarded, etc. Your resume should also, either in a skills section or across your experience section, mention the tools you're familiar with and have worked with, the Microsoft Office Suite, Adobe Creative Suite, Canva, and others. And finally, across your experience section, mention genres you've worked with. Written, designed for, designed, developed, published, produced, etc. Slideshows, infographics, reports, and more. The design content of your resume should be focused on readability and scannability. Someone should be able to pick up your resume and do a 10-second scan and easily identify the information they're looking for. Likewise, it's important, especially if you're applying to big companies, to produce a machine scannable version of your resume, because most likely your resume is going to get pulled into bits and pieces and put into an employment database or an HR database. Enhancing can involve including your name in large size at the top, using one or two readable, legible font faces, using well-designed headings that both break up and separate content and organize your content, and using bullet points to present your content. All resume content is written in phrases and bullet points, not complete sentences or paragraphs. You can also judiciously use graphic elements like horizontal lines to break up and arrange content. As for showcasing your design work in a professional portfolio, you can certainly do that through the design of the portfolio itself. I grabbed two examples from the RAC website, and the first is Sam Block's. He has a really dramatic index page with a black background and a teal and dark gray identity marker of his initials and name. And underneath, he includes his professional areas of interest, user experience, information tech. He includes icons for and links to his social media and a clear navigation bar at the top right. If we go deeper into Sam's portfolio, we can see he repeats his identity marker and the use of black across the top and in the navigation, but the body background is white, which better serves to frame the portfolio content than a black background would. I think black or even a medium gray would probably appear too heavy. The white is clean and crisp and really allows us to focus on the thumbnails of his portfolio pieces. His navigation bar tells us what area we're in, and he's included visual thumbnails for each portfolio piece included. Here's another example, Katie Grimes. She has a simple word mark for her identity marker, KD Grimes, which appears in the top left and prefaces her navigation. She has a vibrant, compelling opening image and labels herself as a writer, editor, and designer. Her background is white with black text. If we go deeper into Katie's portfolio, we see her identity marker repeated and in the same place for good visual repetition. Her navigation tells us where we are, the design section. Subheadings tell us what work we're looking at in that design section. Infographics, then flyers and ads, and if we scroll down more. Katie uses a light horizontal line to divide the subheadings from the portfolio work, and each portfolio piece appears as a thumbnail. Your portfolio can, of course, also showcase design projects, products, and work that you've done. My general rule for portfolio pieces is that nothing should be shared without a summary or an annotation. Don't just plunk in design or writing or editorial or interface or any other work without prefacing it for readers. And a really good approach for writing a summary or annotation is the STAR approach. Briefly describe the situation in which you are working. Describe the task you were responsible for and working on. Mention the audience you are writing or designing for. And share and discuss, if you can, the product and the results. If we go back to Sam's portfolio and select one of his portfolio piece thumbnails, we can read this annotation where he says, because of the recent water crisis, Flint, Michigan has been in the national spotlight. However, due to widespread focus toward fundamental human needs, the rising opioid epidemic and mental health issues in the Flint community have been overlooked. So we know the situation. In my junior year, two of my peers and I began working on a solution for the city of Flint, Michigan that revolved heavily around health coaching and connecting community organizations with one another. We did hands-on user research, including A/B testing, focus groups, observational learning, and interviews. Using our findings, we were able to determine that many social workers had a difficult time connecting struggling residents with proper care beyond the doctor's office. So here we're learning a little bit more beyond the situation of the tasks that Sam undertook and the audience he was writing, designing, working with, and working for. Our project's goal was to transform the way community organizations connect with one another to ultimately help Flint residents across health and wellness care. We finished our project by creating testable wireframes and mock-ups for an online platform that will allow organizations to connect with one another and potential patients. The platform works by allowing community partners to create a profile with updated information about their current offerings and allowing potential patients to find up-to-date resources with low barriers to entry. So this is the results and the product. And there's a link to the final stakeholder presentation, one of the major deliverables or products of the project. Here's a slide from it. If we head back to Katie's portfolio and select a design portfolio piece thumbnail, we can see a larger size image along with a brief annotation. Katie says, as a communications specialist for ISPU, I created this infographic using Canva to display the impact the organization made in various areas over the past year. Featured both in a national mailing and in the annual report, this display allowed donors to see what their money helped accomplish in 2016. I like this, but I do wish she wrote out ISPU so I know what the organization is without having to dig deeper in her portfolio or maybe look at her resume to see it spelled out. I'm also a sucker for more detail. I'd love to see more detail here about the moves that Katie made, like using discover, educate, and enable. This is a pretty clear rhetorical use of powerful action verbs, and I would have liked her to have pointed attention to that. Otherwise, though, this is a short and solid annotation. You have great design skills. Your next steps are to continue learning, continue designing, and work on showing people these skills. Along with what I've briefly suggested here, today's readings and resources offer tons of great advice and specific suggestions for doing so. I have just a few final end-of-class reminders. Module 7 is our last graded assignment for class and is due next Wednesday, December 16th, the Wednesday of finals week, uploaded to D2L by noon Eastern. Noon, please. If I don't see a submission from you by Wednesday, December 16th at noon Eastern, I will message you, I will text you, I will email you, I will try to find you on Instagram or Facebook. If something happens, I don't even want to speculate possibilities, but if something happens and you need a bit of extra time, please let me know if you can ahead of time so I don't panic at noon if I don't see a submission of work from you. Just give me a heads up. You should have a pretty good sense of your grade so far. All the details about grades and info about final grades is included in the class syllabus. The only other two items that will impact your final grade is your Module 7 work and any work you might choose to revise. And revising earlier work from class is entirely optional. If you do choose to revise, you can revise any of the class modules. The activities are done and I graded them pretty generously anyway. And there's no way to go back in time and produce reading responses since those were due by midnight of Sunday of each week. If you choose to revise any of the modules so far, there's an upload any revised work here Dropbox and D2L in the syllabus activities modules and Dropboxes subfolder. And that said, I would encourage you first to prioritize Module 7. It's worth 200 points and I'd much rather you invest your time in Module 7 and creating the best piece of work you can. And you have the tools to do so, including the full assignment and my grading rubric. Then you allocating your time trying to recoup 10 or 20 points here or there on past module work. Focus on Module 7. A couple of final considerations. Module 7, due by noon next Wednesday. Any revised work, due by noon next Wednesday. Today's the last day I'll post a video or any new class materials. There's no final exam for class. Module 7 is our last graded assignment. If you have any questions over the next week or so, please do not hesitate to text or email me. And in the future, beyond next week in the semester, I'm always around. I've worked at MSU for 20 years and I'm probably not going anywhere anytime soon. Feel free to email me if you just want feedback on a design project or a set of eyes on your resume, or you just want to talk about fonts. I'm hoping that once we have a vaccine and it's broadly distributed, we can be together again in spaces and places. When that time comes, feel free to stop by my office in Bessie Hall to say hi. I have a huge library of design books you're more than welcome to come flip through or borrow. Also, please feel free to email me in 1, 2, 3, or more years to tell me how right I was about certain class topics, say Microsoft Word and its ubiquity. But also feel free to email me anytime to tell me what I was wrong about. That's one way that I continue to learn. This is it all. Our last class day, our last class video. I want to acknowledge and thank you all for the work that you did this semester, surviving and thriving in a heavy 4-credit hour class that had a lot of work, a lot of activities, a lot of weekly deadlines. You all did some phenomenal design work, and I hope that this class has inspired you to keep writing and to keep designing.